What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. You're watching Keto Rewind and I'm Jess. Today's video is going to be explaining how I do my alternate day fasting and basically more details. I had a lot of questions on my video yesterday. I'll link it in the cards wherever that is. But I had a lot of questions about my alternate day fasting. Now, and then also I'll explain what a typical day looks like on an eat day and a fast day. So for the past month, almost month, we have like 3 days left. My dad and I have been doing alternate day fasting. We switch up our fasting routine. I've done that my entire journey. I've had some versions gave me more luck than others, but I think as the point I want to drive home is you've got to experiment with what works best for you and your body and your schedule. So I was going to answer some questions today, although we're not completely done. About 98% of the month is done, so I thought it would be a great, just a great video for some more information. Now, why do we do alternate day fasting? The research that I've been doing, I've been following Dr. Jason Fung. Thomas DeLauer also put a video out about this, and there's a lot of experts on this topic. So, but my two go-to is Dr. Jason Fung and Thomas DeLauer from my info. So basically why I do alternate day fasting is the goal for me is fat loss. I am at the tail end of my journey. I am targeting fat. I have 15 pounds left to lose. My goal is fat loss at this point, with a close second of autophagy, which is basically your body just taking out the trash by getting rid of all old cells and making fresh new ones. So there's a lot of experts on this topic and I'm just sharing my beliefs. I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert, but I have lost 119 pounds and I have some experience to draw on and share with you. And if you don't agree with something I say, do your own research and leave me alone. Because this is what works for me and this is what this channel is about, my journey. So I don't know how that's such a hard concept for some people, but anyways, a typical day for me. This is a fasting day. Today's a fasting day. I start my day off around 8 o'clock in the morning, so that I don't have to drive kids all over the creation for 2 different schools. I get to sleep in till 8 o'clock now, and you know what? I am, because sleep is great. So I sleep in till 8, and I start off with a cup of black coffee. Now there's a debate in itself whether you can add cream and sugar and all this stuff to your coffee. My first cup of coffee, personally, is straight black. That's what I do, and that's what this video is about. At the end of the video, I'll give more details on that thought process, but my typical day starts off with a black cup of coffee. And then around 11 o'clock, after I'm done doing schooling with my kids, it's usually around 11 o'clock. They're now hungry, you know, so I make them some lunch and I usually have a cup of water with apple cider vinegar and pink salt, and I just drink that. And that's a great, I usually am hungry around that time as well. I think it's a natural, or it's been a consistent time that I recognize that 11 o'clock, there's a switch that says, hey, you're hungry. So, but it's not the end of the world. I find that the apple cider vinegar tonic, which is 16 ounces of water, a 3-finger pinch of pink salt, and like a teaspoon of lemon juice and a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Mixed it all up and I drink it with a straw, and then I brush my teeth after. And then that is what I do around 11 o'clock. So then I keep myself busy. At this point, I'm filming my videos for this channel. I'm editing my videos. I'm uploading and all this stuff that comes along with it. And around 1 p.m. I'll get another little bit of a hunger, and that's when I'll go get a sparkling water. And I like bubbly and I like Topo Chico. They're just sparkling water. They're just flavored with like natural extracts of lime. My go-to flavor is lime for both of those. But make sure there's no, if you do a sparkling water, make sure it's just a sparkling water. It's not sweetened with anything, or, you know. So I'll have that, and then I'll get back to work. And around 3 p.m. is the next time I'll feel myself getting hungry. So this is the part of the day that I look forward to, and it's my afternoon coffee. Right now it's still warm enough. I'm sorry, it's still cool enough that I've been drinking hot coffee, but once summer comes, it'll switch to an iced coffee. But this is the one time a day that I do put something in my coffee, and I put a scoop of Perfect Keto unflavored collagen. If you follow me, you know I love collagen. I don't skimp on my collagen. I have it every single day. So, and if that means I break my fast or offend somebody, I don't care. I'm not giving up my collagen. It's insignificant in the grand scheme of things. So I do put my collagen in my coffee, and I don't sweat it. So I put unflavored collagen in my coffee, and then still nothing else. And then I drink that, and I just love it. And it's like, oh. And then this time, when all my parents are here, my mom steps in on these days and cooks the dinner. This way it just keeps the temptation from me away. However, you know, there are days that they've been busy prior to this quarantine that I still did make dinner, even though I didn't eat it for my family. But because my mom's here and we're all quarantined, she's had no trouble making the dinner for us. So it just helped me out. But anyways, so they have dinner around 6. And my dad and I, who are doing alternate days fasting, we both sit there. He'll either drink a water or he'll have a tea with me. And I'll do an unsweetened herbal tea, like a green tea, a black tea, a English breakfast tea, a matcha, a chai tea, and everything just plain tea. Nothing in it, just plain tea, water and tea bag. So, and that's what I'll have, and that usually helps get me through that urge to eat during dinner. I do still sit with my family. We have a no device rule while we eat dinner, so all of us always sit at the dinner table every night, regardless of the occasion, always eat dinner at the table. And then we have conversation, and that's something we've always done. I was raised that way, and I've done the same process with my kids. Just because I don't have a plate of food in front of me, it doesn't mean I can't join in on the conversation. So, and plus my kids are so used to me not eating, they don't even question it anymore. They just see me having a cup of tea or a water or something, and they could care less. So, and then they still get to sit with us at dinner. The tradition continues. So now around 7:30-ish, I've been going for evening walks. My kids need to get out of the house. I'm too busy during the day to really get this walk in. So, and it's late. It's been because of the time change. Our days are getting longer. Summer's coming, you know, so we have a lot of evening time now, and the kids have been going to bed later because we're on this really random schedule now. But so we do geocaching with my kids after dinner. They love finding geocaches. If you're not familiar with that, just do a simple Google search. There's coordinates to a cache. And it's like a fun thing to do with your kids. You get some walking in without them even knowing, and they're hunting for this treasure, and it's fun to find it, and it just gets the kids out of the house and gives us all something to do. So we've been doing a lot of geocaching. So we'll do that for about an hour, find the local ones around, and then we'll head home, put the kids to bed, and then my husband and I, being that my parents are still in town, we have free babysitters, we have been going for like a 4 or 5 mile walk after that. So while my parents are doing the bedtime routine and getting them all the books read, we zip out for about 45 more minutes, and we get, you know, 4 or 5 mile walk in, come back home, put the kids to bed, and then I finally sit down for the first time for my day at around 9 o'clock at night. So, and that's when I'm reading comments and stuff for my YouTube channel. So I have jam-packed days, but I want to touch on a few things. That's my basic schedule every day on a fasting day. The only difference between that and that, on a eat day, I eat 2 meals. That's it. So when I begin eating on my eat day, like tomorrow, I will begin eating at noon or lunch. I'll have my first meal. And then I'll have my second meal at around 6. And we're usually done eating by 7. And then the window is closed and I'm back into fasting mode. So that's the only difference. So I only eat during that window, and then once the fasting window is closed, it's now back into alternate day fasting. I mean, we're back into fasting mode. Now, a couple things I want to talk about. The most effective way to lose fat is intermittent fasting. I know I'm going to get chewed apart for that, but hear me out. If the average person eats 10 to 14 times a day, that's like these studies that I've seen, they averages like 12 to 14 even. Like the average American eats 12 to 14 times a day. So you're telling your body every time you put something in your mouth, eat, 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 and then when you eat, you store fat. If you're telling your body to do that 12 to 14 times a day, why do you think we have an obesity problem? The reason that you lose weight is when you say eat, eat just twice in one day, you're only telling your body to store fat. Just twice. So when you are telling it eat, 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 well, you're going to store fat that many times a day. That's the whole point of we eat to store fat. So if we take that out of the equation, now our insulin level with prior, every time we ate, spike of insulin, eat again, spike of insulin, eat again, spike of insulin. Well, when you take that out of the equation, your insulin stays low. And when you're staying low, that signals to your body to go use the fat. It's time to use that fat we stored. And I'm saying this as, you don't have to be morbidly obese. This happens for every person. So that kind of like turned a light bulb on for me, and that's why I decided to switch to alternate day fasting, because I keep my insulin low, and that doesn't mess with my metabolic resting rate. It doesn't mess with anything. I'm not eating on those days, but I'm still working out. I'm still, drinking fluids. I'm still exercising. The only thing that changed is I stopped telling my body to store fat 10 to 12 times a day. It's the only thing that changed. So I feel like that's why I've truly burned fat this past month, like 9 pounds as of yesterday, 9 pounds of fat this month. I haven't pulled a number like that in a long time because I told my body to burn fat. I didn't tell my body to store fat. Like the balance of those things, and yet, no, it's not starvation. I have plenty of fat on my body. I'm not even close to my goal weight, so it's not like there's some people that should not fast, obviously, but the most adults can do it. It's very rare that you wouldn't benefit from intermittent fasting. So that's kind of like my spiel on what turned on that switch to me to push through, because I know, and I've been tracking my insulin or my glucose and my ketones through the whole month, and my blood sugars have significantly stabilized. They've significantly they're just glorious. Like the numbers, my readings are fantastic. After a 40-hour fast, my ketones are anywhere from 3.5 to 3.9 has been my highest reading at the end of the 40-hour fast. My insulin doesn't really get above 80 anymore, which is awesome. Like it's in like the 70 to 80 range consistently. And I feel great. And the only thing I would say that I would do is, if you're not drinking the apple cider tonic that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, you're gonna want some electrolytes. You need something, because you will have moments where, like I've been working out for like an hour a day with my walks. Yes, I'm just strolling. I'm not killing myself. I'm just walking, like 3.5 miles an hour. Nothing quick. I mean, it's just a basic walk with my husband. Not only does that walk clear your head, it's time where my husband and I actually see each other during the day, because he's been so busy working through all this, thankfully. But we can talk for that hour. So we're both talking. It clears your head and it's burning fat. And it feels good. So it's like this whole piece of the puzzle all came together when I started this new routine. I mean, I've always done keto, I've always done fasting, but the way I put it together with the alternate day fasting, I feel is why I'm being very successful right now at this close to my goal weight. So, so that's a typical day. And then as far as what breaks a fast and all that from the beginning, I said I'd answer that. With all the experts out there, you got to find an expert that you align the same beliefs with. First of all. Second, you got to do you. If you can do these things and lose weight or, feel great or whatever, that's what matters at the end of the day, not who is right or whatever. So For me, I personally, when I'm fasting, I'll do black coffee in the morning, black coffee with collagen in the afternoon. 2 separate times, 2 separate reasons. But what truly breaks a fast, it's very minimal. And if you threw some heavy whipping cream in your coffee, some coconut creamer, you know, maybe even some stevia, at the end of the day, it probably isn't going to wreck you. But the really strict people would say it would. So you got to pick what you want to do and try it first with the creamer and maybe gradually back off of it. You know, so don't stress that part. Just focus on fasting and making the best of it, because there's also different types of fasting. You can have weight loss fasting where you're not really caring about autophagy, and then you have autophagy fasting where you're as strict as heck and you want the absolute benefits from autophagy. So that means you don't do anything but water, you know, or black coffee. There'll be no extras in that scenario. So I found myself in like kind of in between. I fast strictly, but the 1 scoop of collagen at the end of the day probably didn't break my fast, but maybe technically it did, but I'm not going to sweat it. I had enough autophagy effects from the duration of my 40-hour fast that I'm happy with, and I'm not going to stress about it. So, but if you are doing it from merely a weight loss standpoint, have that scoop of collagen, have that coffee creamer. If your interest isn't quite so much focused on the autophagy. So you know what I mean? Like, you can still have all that and do your fast. Technically speaking, according to some experts, 500 or less calories a day is technically allowed. So do your own research, experiment with what you find can work, and go for it. And then finally, I'm going to leave you with this. I wanted to let you know that anybody can do this. You got to listen to your body, and if your body says, I can't go another minute without food, listen to it. You got to be smart, and then you're not going to want to start out of the gate at 110 miles an hour. You're going to want to gradually work up. If you're new to this and you want to do this, take your time. Don't jump all hands all in. Just take your time and then gradually shave off an hour on each end of the morning and evening, and shave off an hour and gradually shorten your eating window. You know, you don't have to go, bam, 24-hour fast in your first time. Like, that could probably set you up for success. I mean, for not having success, that's like an absolute guarantee for failure, because your body's not used to this. I've been fasting for 14 months. My body's okay with what I throw it at it. It's used to this, my shenanigans. But if you're brand new, your body's not used to it. You're probably going to feel crappy. So make sure you take it slow. Aim for 16-8. That means you just eliminate breakfast and you start at lunch. Try it. Maybe start at 10 a.m. You're like, find a nice, easy way to glide into it. You don't have to go balls to the wall the first chance you get. And know that if you're feeling yucky, have some water with a little salt in it. Pink salt. That's a great way to just like perk you up, you know. Keep it simple. Simple glass of water really will sometimes just alleviate that, and sometimes it's just mental. So it's just like, you gotta listen to your body, and you gotta use some common sense, and you gotta take it easy, and then gradually add more hours to your fasting, and eventually you'll be there. I mean, I muscled through it my first week on keto back in February 11th, 2019. I went balls to the wall. I was so strict in every freaking category, and I was like, I felt so horrible. It took me 3 weeks to feel good. Then it worked. After everything worked itself out, my body's like, whoa. Then I felt amazing. I haven't felt horrible since week 3 of my journey. I've been, and which is inspiring in how I've kept going, because I feel so good. But that first 3 weeks was pure hell. So take it easy. I don't recommend that. I'm surprised I didn't fail. It was tough. So take it easy, start slow, don't look at anybody else, stay in your own lane, and do what works for you, and do your own research. So one more question I have been receiving was, once I get to my goal weight, I'm gonna still do intermittent fasting. 100% yes. Fasting is my tool that I'm going to use to maintain my weight, for sure. And another benefit of fasting, in this schedule, when I resume eating, I get full so fast, like uncomfortably full, and a portion size that I'm normally used to. It's one thing that I had to kind of get used to. I'm used to being able to eat, and it takes until I finish that meal to feel, oh, you're hungry. That feeling, that hormone that pops on. So doing this intermittent fasting, I find I'm like halfway through the meal and I'm feeling that already, like bites in. So, which I did because I make sure that's why I start with my protein, because if I only have so much room until I feel like full or uncomfortably full, I have to start with my protein, get that in, because that does matter more than the carbs on my plate. So it's been kind of interesting to see that unfold, because one of the original reasons I did intermittent fasting in the first place is because it helped me control my portions in food, because it turns on that hunger hormone, leptin and ghrelin, which are those signals that tell you you're full, you're hungry. So when I've been doing this fasting schedule, it helped make my giant portion sizes that I had when I was 309 pounds back to a normal size, and be satisfied with this amount and not this amount. So it was pretty cool and interesting how that works. But now that I've switched up even more, I'm just so full by mid-meal. And it's kind of been like, I was actually so full that it made me want to go for a walk on my eat days, because I wanted to burn some of it off. I was actually overly full, even though the portion size that I had been eating a month ago hadn't changed from what I was eating that day, if that makes sense. But it was just that, the signal had said, cut it off, we're full. And it's just cool to feel that. And that helps you with you not overeating. So I wanted to point out that does happen, and you will naturally cut down on your serving sizes if you do this. So, and then finally, the last thing I want to leave you with, using intermittent fasting as a tool to deal with stress is also another reason why I'm doing this. I'm an emotional eater, and when I'm on a alternate day fasting schedule, again, it takes away my crutch, food, and I have to manage my day with other healthier ways of coping with stress. So that's one of the main reasons I'm going to be continuing intermittent day fasting, regardless if I'm at my goal weight or not. That this is the new me includes intermittent fasting and the ketogenic lifestyle. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you at the next video. I'm Jess, and you're watching Keto Rewind. Bye-bye.